and welcome back. The topic today is women acting tough in the workplace or being viewed as weak. And this was a difficult topic for me through much of my career. It wasn't until much later that I became really comfortable just being myself, using both my left brain and right brain, and being analytical and logical, as well as intuitive and collaborative and um, supporting employees. Probably because by nature I was more soft spoken and thoughtful, a bit more reserved. I was definitely not one of the good old boys and certainly didn't act like one. Now, I saw the few women that were really making it to the top, um, acting kind of a cold, aloof, unemotional, almost like they left part of themselves at home before they came into work. And one such woman I want to cite as an example is a woman called Faye, who I knew in one of my companies. And Faye was highly accomplished. She was responsible for thousands and thousands of employees. Attractive woman, wore beautiful designer suits. And sometimes I was asked to sit in for my boss, who was the chief information officer, at the officer meetings. And Faye was an officer, a top officer. And in several of these meetings, what I saw was Faye almost being crucified. Now, she had been asked to lay off a large number of staff. And because of that, customer service levels went down, of course. And she'd have to stand up there and explain, what she was going to do about it, and kept saying the same thing. She never got emotional. She never got angry. And boy, if I had been there, I would have been angry and emotional. And after seeing this several times, I wish I would have had the courage, which I didn't have at the time, to stand up and say, gentlemen, instead of just focusing on Faye, there are a lot of other things that this company needs to think about, like pricing, like revenue, and overall employees. So I didn't have that courage. And what I've heard and seen in many companies, even though they say they want to be more collaborative and inclusive, that's really not the role at the top that they set. And therefore, a lot of women follow that. And a lot of women have been told to look at their superiors and how they act and what they do. And therefore, they follow that male model, which in my opinion is the wrong thing to do. I'd like to cite this book. It was published in 2020 by Jennifer Palmieri. And she was at one time a White House director of communications at the White House. Anyway, the title of her book is She Proclaims. Subtitle, Our Declaration of Independence from a Man's World. And what I took out of the book, which I think is excellent, is that women have been trying to follow this male model, their demeanor of acting tough and being in charge and so on. And it's a system that was developed for men, and it's not going to work for women. They have to develop their own new model. And what I think women need to do is, again, to be able to be yourself, to use your left brain, right brain when the situation is called for, to be logical, making hard decisions, analytical when it's necessary, and also at the same time to be intuitive, to be collaborative, to support people at all levels of the company, things that women are really good at doing. So one other thing I wanted to say, unless you are unbelievably bright, and there's only been two women in my career, knowing thousands of women and having thousands work for me, is that there were only two women that I thought could get away with a demeanor that really it would not work for most women. First one, she had the squeakiest voice of any woman I've ever heard. And yet she was so smart, so bright, that whatever she said, the men listened to and ignored her squeaky voice. The second woman, I really liked. I mean, she said a lot of the things that I wish I could say. Very foul mouthed. And I was used to hearing a lot of foul language, working with men most of the time. But the things she said was sometimes unbelievable. But again, super bright. Everybody just ignored her foul mouth and went along with whatever she said. So, for most of us, okay, if we have deficiencies, such as that voice or our bad mouth, we probably need to do a little bit of work on ourselves before we're totally ourselves. Because there are very few that are super bright. And no matter what they do, people will listen. So I say, be yourself, but when you get feedback, and you should ask for feedback about your demeanor and style, and if somebody says, you seem to be a little bit too much rough around the edges, or whatever that is, then take some training or learning on your own. Okay, with that, I'm going to go to the 3 questions for today for the video. And remember that these questions will follow on slides afterward, so you don't have to take notes. First question, do you know women who act cold, harsh, and aloof at work? And what is your reaction to them? Question 2, what do you think is the ideal demeanor for a woman at work? And think about this, whether you're at a staff level, individual contributor, manager, or above. And are there female workers at all levels whose style of acting and dressing that you admire? Question 3, what makes a woman strong or appear to be strong? And how do you think you are viewed in the workplace? Do you think you are viewed as being strong and competent or weak and incompetent? With that, I'll leave you, excuse me, and the topic for the next video is women using sexual appeal in the workplace. Thanks again, and see you next week.